Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the CEO School podcast. I'm your host, Suneera Madhani, and I am so excited for today's episode that I'm actually doing it virtual, which I rarely do. And it's because I cannot wait to have this conversation. We have to have it right now. And I'm so excited to introduce this very special guest. What's also really special, and this guest doesn't know this, but I actually don't interview a lot of men on the show. This entire show is always focused on female founders, but most importantly, told in the female founder lens. But Patrick Lencioni is here, and he is the founder of the Table Group and the author of 13 best-selling books totaling over 7 million copies sold, including Five Dysfunctions of a Team and his latest, The 6 Types of Working Genius. And he doesn't even know this, but Five Dysfunctions of a Team was actually one of the first leadership books that I read that my business mentor sent to me. And I read the book, and then on my drive to my first leadership retreat where I was hosting my leadership team, I made everybody actually read the book, listen to the book. And that leadership team that we were able to scale effectively led to a $1 billion exit. But I recently just learned that Patrick actually created a second type of assessment, the Working Genius assessment. And it's actually modern, it's relevant, it's now, it's current. And I took the assessment as well. And I was like, everybody needs to take this assessment, especially women, because we're so hard on ourselves trying to do it all. We feel, we have to be perfect in every zone. And I feel like even in this next book, I gained so much. And I actually sent the assessment to all my leadership team in my second company, which I'm building another fintech again right now. So Patrick, without further ado, welcome to CEO School.
It's great to be here. I can't wait to have this conversation. And the idea that we're talking to female leaders, I love talking about this. I realized that half of my managers before I started my own firm were female. And then I realized too, the Five Dysfunctions of a Team, the main character is a female CEO. My wife will tell you, and my editors and others will say that I think I write really good female characters. I don't know why. My wife probably, I gotta give her credit for that.
I think that that's so wonderful. I love that you're actually conscious of it after the fact, so you weren't doing it on purpose. Like,
No.
it's just natural to you to put her in that leadership position in the book, which is incredible. So let's take us back. For those that don't know Five Dysfunctions, can we talk about the first, big movement that you started and take us all the way now through, like, just for those that don't know your journey?
I started my career out of college at a company called Bain & Company, a management consulting firm, and it was this high-end company where I was going to learn all this stuff. It was supposed to be the best job in the world, but as it turned out, it wasn't a good fit for me, which I'll explain later because now I know my working genius didn't fit that. But I was fascinated with the human side of business, and we'd be in there like analyzing a company's bottom line and their technology and their cost structure and all these things, all of which is important and interesting. But I would be like, oh my gosh, these people don't even get along, and the culture is they're not using any of this. And I remember the people at Bain said, they don't pay us to do that. And I was like, but that's what interests me. So then I went to work for this little company called Oracle. It was early days of Oracle. I worked there and got really fascinated by the culture, got into that kind of part of the business, worked at another technology company, and then started my own firm because I realized that the cultural and organizational health of companies was really lacking. And I had no idea that I was ever going to write a book or be a speaker or anything. I just started this little consulting firm and worked with these founders and growth companies. And people started listening to what I was saying. I came up with a theory. Somebody said I should write a book about it. I did. It got published. 14 books later, all kinds of different things we've been doing. We have 50 consultants around the world that work with us doing that. So that's kind of how it came about. And it was really just me being fascinated with the human side of business and realizing what an impact that had on the intellectual part of business.
The human side of business, I mean, people used to tell me, you take things too personally. And I'm like, what is more personal than business? Because I'm literally pouring more, like, my blood, sweat, tears, all my hours. I bring myself to work every day. I can't separate that from the person. And I think post-COVID, I feel like was a huge shift in a lot of that understanding and culture on the other side. I want to get into that a little bit later of like the post-COVID shift. But you said something here right now about the first theory. What was that first theory that you had around the workplace?
It was just before I started my own firm, and I was observing a number of CEOs. I was doing some work on my own. So I was working with 4 different CEOs at once. And I realized, oh my gosh, this guy, his whole problem is he doesn't care about results. He just cares about his ego. And I thought maybe that's the whole problem. And then I said, wait, the last CEO though, he didn't care about his ego at all. He just actually wouldn't hold people accountable. I was like, whoa, but this guy over here would hold people accountable, but he just never committed to what he was supposed to hold people accountable for. And I came up with this model. It was like peeling an onion. And I started to tell people about it. And people said, oh, that makes sense. And it led to the book, The Five Temptations of a CEO. The Five Temptations of a CEO. And that book, a publisher, I was unknown. They put it out there. People started to find it, word of mouth. And it started to grow, and they said, hey, this is actually selling more than we thought it would. And then I had this other theory, and I wrote about that. And then a bunch of people were saying, this CEO book applies to teams if you look at it differently, and I went and rejiggered that, and that book took off. I never thought I would write more than one book. I certainly didn't think I'd write more than 2 or 3, but every time I'd be finished, I go, well, this might be it. I'd learn something else. I'd go to my clients and I'd watch them. I was at a meeting with one of my clients, and I was just so bored, and so were they, and I thought, okay, what is going on here? I have to figure this out. And then that's when I came up with the idea for a book called Death by Meeting, which I wrote years ago, and it's been very popular, Suneera. I just keep discovering things in my own company and in the work I did with other companies, and that's how my most recent book came about, the 6 Types of Working Genius, was really me struggling in my own time as a leader, and that's how I came up with that theory.
Well, I mean, your theories are highly effective and relevant as well for the times in the workplace as well. Your current, theory on the 6 working geniuses, can you break down the 6 types of working genius and kind of how this applies to the female founders in the room listening, especially those that are trying to scale?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I'm the founder of my company. And when you're the founder, you think, well, I guess I have to be willing to do anything for the company. And the answer is yes. Does that mean you're going to be great at everything? No. And if you overdo things that you're not great at, not even that you're not great at, but things that give you joy and energy, you're going to get burned out. Not because you're working too hard, but you're focusing on the wrong things. But when you're the founder, you think I'm supposed to do everything. So 5 years ago, I was at work, and I went from one Zoom call, because it was right after COVID, one Zoom call where I was really excited to the next Zoom call where I was kind of frustrated, and the next Zoom meeting where I was really excited. And somebody said, why are you like that? And I said, what do you mean? They go, you get happy and sad and happy in the same day. And I realized I'd been doing that for years. As the founder of my own company, I loved what I did. I loved the people I worked with. And yet I was often very frustrated, and I didn't know why. And I thought, I'm not manic. I don't think it's a psychological disorder. And so that day I sat there with a whiteboard and a pen, and I said, what happened? What am I doing when I'm frustrated? And what am I doing when I'm not? And by the grace of God, I came up with these 6, and at first it was 3, and then I cut them in half because I realized there were 2 elements to them. 6 different kinds of work that are involved in running a company and launching a product, in planning a family vacation, in rebuilding a home, all things we've all done. And I thought, wow, there's 6 tasks that are required, and I only loved 2 of them. 2 of them gave me joy and energy, and that's what we call our working genius, God-given talent. 2 others I call working competencies. Those are things that I can do, but I don't love it, but it doesn't crush me. And there's 2 called working frustrations that drained me. I could spend 2 hours doing the things that drained me and feel totally spent. I could spend 12 hours working in my geniuses, and I'd come home from work and my wife would say, wow, you're energized. You've been at work a long time. And I said, yeah, I got to do the things I love today. And so I came up with this theory, Suneera, just for myself. And then a CEO saw it, and he got emotional because he said, that explains why I've been so frustrated. And one by one, more and more people saw it and were like relating to it. So we said, maybe this is universal. We built an assessment, and it's just taken off. So many people. And it's so great when leaders who feel guilty or a little shameful for not liking a part of their job that they think they're supposed to do realize, oh my gosh, I don't need to feel guilty. I actually should find other people who love this kind of work and allow them to do more of it so I don't have to. And when we go through the geniuses, I'll get to the one that was crushing me. and that I thought I had to do because I was the CEO, and I realized the CEO doesn't have to do this. So anyway, that's where it came from, my own frustration as a leader. And I love the letters I get from CEOs who said, man, I was literally leaning into the things I didn't like the most because I thought that's what a CEO did. They force themselves to get good at the things they hate.
Because we feel that we have to do it all, because we do. And some
Right.
essence, at the end of the day, the buck stops at you. And when you are in founder mode, especially, and I talk a lot about going from founder to CEO. That's this like whole shift that I'm hoping for women to take, is that we're still stuck in founder mode. We don't step into CEO mode. And in founder mode, you are having to play every hat. You are having to do all the things. And so scale can't happen until you make that decision to step into it. But I love that. I do want to talk about those individual assessments, because I think a lot of women will relate here, is that, our perfectionism, we're always focused on the thing that might not be right. And from what I gather of the work is, let's not focus on the things that we're not good at. Like, why are we even focused there? It's not going to happen. We don't need to do it. Go find somebody else to go. Just understand what your strengths are and just go focus on your strengths. And in a perfect world, that is where you are living, thriving, spending majority of your time. Now, it's not always going to be perfect, but you know your genius, and that's where you're trying to spend your time. And the things that are not your genius, not that those things don't have to get done, but we are supplementing and we're finding other people who can then support that. Am I getting this theory right?
Totally right. Because when you know what your geniuses are and you spend a lot of time in those without guilt, then when you have to do something that you don't like, you realize this is not something I'm supposed to be awesome at, but I know I have to do it. I'll do my best, but I'm not going to think that that's my value. And then you actually give yourself grace. Oh, so many leaders, and I think female leaders have an extra thing because of society, but so many leaders actually, I think they have wounds and they think their wounds are superpowers because they force themselves to do things because like, I'm never enough. And I have to keep going, and it's never good enough. And that makes them very successful, but it robs them of peace and grace. And one day you go, is this ever going to end? And the answer is, yeah, lean into what you were made to do. Be okay at sometimes when you have to do the other things, but let other people do things. I'm going to tell you a story about my wife when I wrote this book. So 5 years ago, Laura. So Laura was a consultant before we had kids. And then she decided she's going to stay home, but she ran a Bible study and was very active and doing stuff with the kids. And then when the book came out and the boys were just getting older, we were almost empty nesters, she said, Pat, I read the book. And I said, what did you think? And she was involved in coming up with the theory. She said, I love it and I'm pissed. She had tears in her eyes. I said, why? And she goes, because I've been working outside of my genius for so long. And so my wife's geniuses were never about like micro tasks and getting things done on time and details. It's just not her gift. She's what's called the creative dreamer. That's her thing, and that's how she is. But in running our household and doing the things she did, she had to do things she didn't like. And I remember early in our marriage, Suneera, I said, Laura, why don't you outsource the finances and some of the stuff around the house? I know there's college students that live nearby that would do this, that would be great at this, and they'd love the money. Let's outsource some of the stuff that you don't like. We didn't know what working genius was at the time. And she said, no, I can't, because I have friends who are really good at this, and it's easy for them, and if I can't do it, then I must be a failure as a wife or as a mom. And now when she did the working genius, she was like, some people like the administration of their house. Some people love the budget and keeping things going and organizing carpool. My wife hated it, and she felt like there was something wrong with her. And when she finally discovered a working genius, she was like, oh, I should have never done that. And I want people early in their lives to go, I don't have to do the things I hate. Half the relief is saying I suck at some things, and that's okay.
I'm going to tell the audience later what my working genius is. So they have
Yeah.
to tune in all the way till the end, because once you find out mine, all of you will be like, oh my God, this makes sense. And when I did my assessment, the first thing I did is like, I took it. And then when I got my results back, I was like, oh my God, you're anxious because you're like, what is it? What is it going to be? And I get it back. And it was a sense of relief, because in my heart and in my gut, I already knew I know what I'm good at. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had every role. My companies have grown I've done all the things. And it was spot on, Pat. Like spot on. The first thing
Oh
I did, I
God.
sent it to my co-founders, and then I'm gonna share the story of like there's a post story. So the pre-story with my first company, and then the second one, you're part of this one too, and you don't even know it. So
Oh wow.
I'm gonna share the assessment and like what took place thereafter. But it does work, and it is a sense of relief to be like, great, like this is what I'm good at, and I'm gonna own it. And this is what I want to do, and I don't need that pressure to try to do all the other things. What do you say to the founder that she's like, great, I take the assessment, I know what I'm good at, but somebody still has to do the other work. And I don't have a team or a budget yet to, Suneera, you can speak from it here now because you've got a leadership team and you've got, employees. Like I'm in my early stages. What do you say to her?
First of all, the relief of just knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at. So take the pressure off. That's huge. The second thing is when you do have a vendor that works with you, even the vendors know what your geniuses are and what theirs are. Because even though they do certain tasks, hopefully they're going to do them in a way that fills in your gaps. And sometimes we're drawn to people, the first person we hire or the vendors or the partners we work with, and we like people that are like us. And sometimes all that does is means we're going to have to do more of what we don't like. And once you know what your geniuses are, I mean, let's just say you were outsourcing all the finances of your startup. And you're like, I have this accountant / financial manager. Well, if you're good at strategy, don't find somebody who loves strategy, find somebody who loves the details. If you're a detailed person, find a person who loves the kind of the bigger picture. And 1 + 1 = 5. So even if it's not an employee, just know what the people you work with do. And for that matter, know what your spouse does naturally so that you can go to them and say, hey, you're good at these things, I'm not. Could you give me some advice? You will find that you will get so much more goodness from everyone around you in your life if you know what their geniuses and yours are. Whereas if you don't know what they are, you might very well force yourself to do the things you hate, thinking, well, that's penance for starting my own business.
I think that that's super accurate. Like I fully agree with that. Even with, it doesn't matter how early stage you are, you're still working with contractors, vendors. You're working, even if it's by yourself, to just know it and then be like, here's the first hire that I'm going to get. I always say we fall in love with the first puppy. That's what we naturally do. We're super excited. We fell in love
Oh,
with the first puppy. And that is actually the wrong approach to your first hire, especially. And we're hiring because we're like, oh my God, she's going to, or this person's going to come in, or he or she's going to come in and they're going to solve all the problems. And they're not. And just even if we apply this assessment to who we need to hire as our first hire or third hire or fourth hire so that we build out the team, I think it's game changer.
hiring is one of the best uses of this tool. The problem with the 6 types of working genius is it's first about understanding yourself and having the grace to know what you're good at and what you're not and be okay with that. The next thing is it's in working with others, you understand them. And when it comes to hiring, first of all, hire for your core values. That make sure there's a cultural fit. But you gotta hire people that are gonna fill in your gaps. And like, I know what your letters are, and it's like, and I know what your least are. You and I share the same working frustrations, is like, love on people that love your frustrations because they will take so much crap off your plate and gladly. And it's not that you're actually giving them a chance to do what they love, because one woman's trash is another woman's treasure. And you're going to find somebody who goes, could I please organize your life and finish things and respond to your needs and be the one that gets all this stuff done? And you're going to go, but I don't like doing that. And they're going to go, I know, but I love doing it. Mm-hmm. So when you hire people that love to do what you don't, you get to celebrate them. They celebrate you, and 1 + 1 = 5.
I love that.
So
I always say
it's
1 +
so
1 is
helpful.
3, but I like the 5 better. So I like that. You said something about the word frustration, and I actually had written that note down because you talk about genius. We also talk about competency and frustration. Could you talk about those 3 things and how that applies to the working genius?
Yeah. So there's these 6 geniuses category, and 2 of them are yours. And that's like pouring coffee into a Yeti mug and putting the lid on it, and it'll stay hot all day. You'll hold that energy. Your energy and joy. It's like, I'm still loving this. And it's like, yeah, you're doing the things you love. Like in your case, I'm coming up with ideas and I'm rallying the troops. I'm selling these ideas to people. I'm getting them excited. It's like, you could do that all day. There's somebody else out there that those things would be the death of them, which is amazing. Okay, So that's the Yeti mug full of coffee. Your working competencies, the two in the middle, are like pouring coffee into a cup like this, putting a lid on it. It's going to hold its heat for a while. You can hold on to it and drink it over the next hour. Your working frustration is like taking that cup of coffee and pouring it in there, but it's got a hole in the bottom of it and it just drains right away. It robs you of joy and energy. And just the idea of doing it just is really frustrating, especially if you think you're supposed to be good at it. And so many people are frustrated in their jobs and they feel guilty and they're like, am I lazy? Am I incompetent? What is it? My first job, Suneera, at Bain, was actually lined up with my working frustrations.
Oh no.
So they interviewed me. It was the highest paying job. It was really prestigious. They hire me, and little did I know that my natural gifts were completely misaligned with what they wanted me to do. I worked there for 2 years. I just barely held on. I left there with such a loss of confidence. And I thought, have I been an imposter this whole time, doing well in school? And now I look back and I realize, I should have said to them, thank you for this job offer. It's such an honor, but I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not going to be good at it. And I really should go find something that aligns more so with my geniuses.
Too many people finish their workday feeling frustrated, drained, and unfulfilled. The good news is it doesn't have to be that way, and you don't need a new job to fix it. Patrick Lencioni, author of The Five Dysfunctions of a Team and more than a dozen other bestsellers, created the Working Genius Assessment to help you pinpoint the kind of work that gives you energy and the kind that drains it. Over 1 million people, including myself, have taken it, and it's completely changed how I lead and how I show up every single day. If you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, or someone who just wants to level up in business and life, Working Genius will give you the clarity and confidence to operate in your strengths. And honestly, find greater joy in what you do. Because confidence isn't pretending to be good at everything, it's knowing where you're truly gifted. Take the Working Genius Assessment today and get 20% off with code CEO20 at workinggenius.com. It takes 12 minutes to take the quiz. That's workinggenius.com. You'll be so glad you did.
I love that. Maybe you wouldn't even gone for the interview if you knew you're a genius. I mean, like that does not fit in well with consulting and that high stress environment. Because you kind of alluded to, I was going to save it till the end, but I do want to go into the details of each working genius. I took the assessment and I'll share the story with you of what took place. So I'm on to building company number 2. Well, actually company number 3 technically, but fintech number 2. I knew it was going to be crazy. I've done this playbook before with like my 2 co-founders. We've worked together for 15 years now. And one of the things that I did not want to do in this second time in running the company is I actually didn't want to be part of the day-to-day. I want to evangelize the brand. There's things that I'm really good at, and I kind of knew what I was good at. And not that I wasn't great at being CEO. I did it like in my last role. I just knew where I was really happy, in where my Yeti mug was completely hot and full, and where it was, I could drink it warm, but it's going. And it was towards the end of my journey. Like when I was innovating, I was so happy. When I was growing the brand, I was so happy. And then when you're like past employee, like 400, and it's becoming like, for me, it was pretty much just managing the day of the business. Not that I can't do it. It's just not where like my cup was full. And my highest and best use actually for the company is when I felt burnout. And I know we're going to talk about burnout here shortly, but I was massive amounts of burnout. I could not find the passion back again for my business. It was time to exit, which I ended up exiting and selling. But I maybe could have carried it on further, but I was just in the wrong role at that time and the size of the company that it was. And so knowing that, based on my experience building the second company, I knew I had to be in founder mode with my 2 co-founders. We've got to do it all. We got to do all the things. We got to get stuff done. We got to go build the teams before we can have a little bit of that freedom. But I knew, and we each kind of knew where our superpowers were. And so this time we were really clear about that. And I didn't call it Working Genius, but we do call it our superpowers. And it's like, here's what Sal is really great at. Here's what Jacques was really great at. Here's where Suneera is really great at. And we're going to go in our 3 different ways. And it works. And we're going to trust each other in our lanes. And we're going to get stuff done. And in 18 months, we got this fintech not only just off the ground, built the most tremendous technology, built a 60+ team, got our fundraising done, like record success again, like just ridiculous amount of like quick growth, rocket ship again. And I will say, it's not just because people are like second time founder, you know what you're doing. It's because we each tapped into what we were meant to do.
Yeah.
And when we started the company, Sal and I were co-CEO of the company, and it was primarily to ensure like investors had a vote of like we were just like we do everything together. So it was like, and one of the things that I was like, I want to make sure is that in this next one, you're going to be CEO, and this is like going to be my next title. And the title, and I actually had a board meeting before I took this assessment, and we'd gotten everything off the ground that we had needed to. So they couldn't say anything of like, no, not now, Suneera. No, it's time. Chief Evangelist. So Chief Evangelist Officer. I know your face is about to happen. So Chief Evangelist Officer, and it can still translate to CEO whenever I need it and wherever we need it from a market standpoint. I'm still strategic in making decisions with Sal and being like the face of the brand with him and all the things. And so we came up with the title Chief Evangelist Officer, CEO, as this is my role. And what I want to do is evangelize the brand. What I want to do is continue to build products and innovate. What I want to do is build companies, drive culture for my team, go get the investors, go get the top customers, get our brand into like every major, like be the market leader. And that was the title that got approved. We did the thing. And this was end of Q3 last year. And then I took the assessment in Q4 with your team. And when I got my results back, Patrick, do you have them with you?
Yeah.
What were my two geniuses?
Innovation and galvanizing. And there's 15 pairs because there's 6 types. And your pairing is called the evangelizing innovator.
Yes.
And it was exactly you.
Yes, it's exactly.
And here's the thing. Here's what I want to say to your audience. A founder is not a founder is not a founder. A CEO is not a CEO is not a CEO. There's totally different kinds. And if you know what you're good at, you should be that kind of founder or that kind of CEO. And too often we become genera CEO and we peanut butter our time and our effort across the board. No, I'm an innovation like you, invention and discernment. So that's what I try to do in my company, and I fill in the gaps of other people. So I don't have galvanizing like you do. Like, that was crushing me for years, is I'd come to work wanting to innovate and discern things, which will make sense in a second, and people would be like, galvanize us, galvanize us, galvanize us. And it was wearing me out. And yet for you, you're like,
give it to me all day. I love it all day. This is what I want to do, and it's what I'm really good at. And the word, when I read the combination of my assessment with the word evangelizing, I sent it to my co-founders, and I was trying to find the email, and I'll screenshot it in some of maybe in the post stories of the episode. But I literally said, like, this could not feel like any better to like make a decision like this. It's a big decision to make a decision like this. And I felt so comfortable in it, so confident and they felt so confident in my role in this way too. And then the assessment just kind of like, it was such gravy. It was awesome. And I just want to thank you that it was accurate. And you got a living, breathing, real case study here across it all.
I love it. And I'm going to tell the people that are listening to this that it takes 12 minutes to do this assessment. Yeah. And we priced it so ridiculously low. And like Dave Ramsey's a dear friend of mine. And he was like, Pat, you should have charged a lot more for that because that's really worthwhile. But we want everyone in your organization. We want your family members to do it. We want people to start looking at each other and going, oh, I know what you love. And I know what crushes you.
I love that. And don't worry, audience. So everyone who's listening, we have special codes. We'll link everything in the show notes. I've asked Patrick to come on, and I was like, this is why it was like super important that we just get this done and going. It's the beginning of the year, and we don't need to waste another minute and working on things that we don't love. So don't worry. Everything is going to get linked into the show notes. I'm also going to be sharing it across like emails and like a bunch of stuff. Like we're obsessed right now with just with this assessment. And so everyone in your world will be able to take it. And I cannot wait for you to take it. And when you do take it, I want you to screenshot your assessment. I want you to tag me, and I want you to tag CEO School, and I want you to share it with other entrepreneurs. I want you to tag Patrick. So we'll get to that at the end. Can you actually walk us through those 6 different profiles? Because I want her to be like, is this like me? And, just walk me through the 6 different profiles that we currently have.
So the 6 types, I'll try to go fast. The first genius is called the genius of wonder, the W. This is the most misunderstood. People that have the genius of wonder, they get joy and energy out of pondering things and asking questions, and their head is in the clouds, and they're like, why are things this way? And in a business, they're like, are our customers really happy? Do we need to do it this way? Maybe there's a better way. This is where all innovation starts, is somebody asking the question, even without having an answer. People with the genius of wonder are almost always asking great, important questions. And that's what happens at the beginning of every business. It's like, maybe there should be a different way to use technology in this field. Somebody had to ask that question. The second genius, which comes after that, which you and I both share, is the genius of invention. We're the ones who hear that question and go, oh, let me try. Let me come up with something. Coming up with new things out of nothing is so much fun for us. In fact, we can't help it.
That's why
we
you're
do
on
it
your
all the
12th
time.
book.
Right. And I didn't think I'd ever write another book, but they just keep coming. And you know you have a genius when you do it, even when it's not necessarily called for. Sometimes my wife is like, hey, I don't really need your invention right now. I just need you to help me with this. But my first inclination is always, can I come up with a new idea? So invention it goes wonder and then invention. Those are where creativity come from. That's the process of coming up with new ideas. The next genius is called discernment. And this is the genius that some people have. They look at things and they see patterns and they see different variables, how they fit together. It's like intuition and instinct. They're not linear thinkers. They're much more like pattern thinkers. And when you ask them a question, even if they don't have expertise, they usually have, their gut is pretty good. A woman that I work with, Tracy, one of my co-founder, she has amazing intuition. She's got discernment. And everyone's constantly saying, what should I do? Ask Tracy. My wife will go like, should we refinance our house? Ask Tracy. She's not an expert on that. She just has great judgment. Her friends, when she was a kid, Tracy said, would always ask her. She guides us in our business. I'm like, are we okay financially? She's the CFO and my editor. And she's like, we're fine. And when she says we're fine, I know that's good. There's other people that would say we're fine, and I would go, I need to know more. So discernment is the next genius, and it's really great. And we'll talk about you in regard to that. The next genius is your other one, which is galvanizing. And that is, they love to rally the troops. They wake up every day and go, please let me sell. Let me motivate. Let me inspire people. Let me get people excited. It's like it feeds them. There are people that say, please don't make me ever have to do that. So you're on a road show raising money, and you're like, oh, this is going to be fun.
It is. And naturally, even with CEO school, even when I had an opportunity to build a community, I was like, it naturally happened. I wasn't trying to build a community. The podcast was just out of that. Like, I got to get these thoughts out of my head and like share it with every female founder, because I was building a company. I was like, this is not how it works, guys. Like, the world for men is not the same for us. This is how I'm navigating it. And I think this is going to help people. So I started to share, and the podcast just naturally started taking off. Community started forming. And now I've got this huge community of hundreds of thousands of female founders that are part of this movement. People are like, how do you get the energy to do that on top of all the things that you do? And like you said, it's my Yeti cup. It's hot and full, and it doesn't drain me. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, you're an I and a G, and so in between the I and the G is the discernment. So your best friend or your helper at work is somebody that'll you'll go, I have this idea, and they're going to go, yeah, I think that's good. Or, whoa, no, I think you might need to. Or, no, I think that one's going to go off a cliff. And you'll be like, thank you. And you'll tweak it. You know what I mean? So having a discerner working with you just helps an IG be that much better. Okay, after galvanizing, which you do, then comes our two weaknesses. The next one is called enablement, and it's a good thing. Enabling people is really good when you're enabling them to do something good. It's not about drug use or, we all know that word from don't enable them. Enabling people who have a dream. When somebody says, I have this great idea, there are people that naturally come alongside and say, I want to help you. Tell me what you need from me, I'll do it. And they'll do it on your terms. They're the glue in organizations. They're that person who volunteers quickly and loves to see that they're helping you accomplish something that matters. Every organization needs people with enablement, and I have none of it. It's one of your frustrations too. That doesn't mean we don't have to do it sometimes. We don't get to go, hey, employee, you have a need, or a kid in our family. Oh, you have a need? Sorry, I don't have enablement. As a parent, as a spouse, as a manager, I have to help people in their areas, but it's draining to me. And other people can do it all day long. There are people come and ask, I need help again. And they're like, Like people that work in certain jobs, even within our companies, that it's a service role for employees or for customers, and people call it, say, I need help again. They're like, oh, I love this. And I'm like, oh, do I have to tell them again? So enablement is a gift. It's a genius. I love people who have it because they're good at something I'm not. And the last genius of the 6, we're now landing the plane, is tenacity. And these are people that love to finish things. The last part, they don't rest until it's all wrapped up. You and I are on to the next thing before the last one is finished. And we need people in our lives to either slow us down to help us finish, or to say, I got it from here, you can move on. I will now make sure it gets across the finish line. And those people love doing that. So I don't have tenacity. If I did not have a book editor and deadlines, I would have written no books. I need people with tenacity around me to say, you got to keep going or we're going to finish this. So those are the geniuses, and we only have 2.
I think that that's what's really interesting about this, because I think when you hear it in this lens, you're like, well, I got a little bit of that, and I have a little bit of that, and I'm good at a little bit of that. But it's not that you're not, it's not the little bit part. It's where you thrive and where you shine. And so it is true for those, like, I'm not great at being in the weeds and in the details, and like I don't want to do it. Like I really don't. I want that person to take it off my plate and to get it there at the 80-yard line, and then I can come in and be like, here's a little bit of the pixie dust, and then like you finish it through. And that is what like I struggle with, is that I'm not the one. Of course we have to do it in startup culture and in getting stuff done. Of course I have to roll up my sleeves and I gotta do the things sometimes, but it's not where I want to spend 8 hours of my day in the doing. And that is accurate.
All of us probably got to this point in our lives by forcing ourselves. Like I got straight A's in college and high school. Yeah. Did I want to? No, I did it because I felt, 1, I had some wounds about fear of failure. 2, I knew I needed to in order to get a job. I didn't like it. If it were up to me, I'd have skipped half the classes because they didn't matter. But I thought, no, I better be disciplined. So we get out of college and we're like, well, I can force myself to do things I don't like. And the answer is, you need to stop. We had a guy say, how can I not have tenacity? I went to med school. I'm a doctor. Did you like med school? And he goes, oh, I hated it. It was such a grind. Oh, I would never do it again. And we're like, it's about joy and energy. Just because you proved that you can do something you hate doesn't mean you should keep doing it.
It's very, very accurate. I mean, it's not that you still have to have tenacity to get anything through the finish line, but it's also about having people who are going to push you to get it done. Like the deadline conversation is really real. It's very real. People don't know this about me, and they assume, and I was also summa cum laude, double major, did all the things, yet I am the world's biggest procrastinator when it comes to, if I have to do something, like that I have to physically do it, physically write it, physically get it done, physically prepare, it is happening the night before. My ideas are generating forever. I'm delegating off like my year's plan for next year. But when it comes to, if I have to physically deliver something, it's happening the night before, and it'll get done and it'll be exactly how I want it, but it's not happening until I have that pressure of a deadline that it's due tomorrow.
I'm going to go back to this thing because I'm doing some work on something right now. Is so many successful people have to look back at their lives and go, yes, I got successful, but some of the things I did to become successful were actually hard for me and not healthy. You graduated summa cum laude, that's great. But it was like, but I want to achieve this.
Yeah,
when you get older, what were you going to say?
It was the wound, right? I'm first generation. I'm first generation Pakistani daughter, first person to go to college, first opportunity to go do that. So I had to maximize it. Failure was not an option. So I had to have all the options of success. I was top of everything and I got myself to do that. But I mean, it was only as part of the wound, or the chip on my shoulder that I carried through to ensure that my level of success. Failure, I didn't want to fail. So I was like, what do I got to go to check off so that my baseline is high?
Yes. And it's really good at some point in life, fairly early, to go, hey, it's actually okay to suck at some things and to celebrate that. And to say, yeah, I can override that suckiness for a short period of time when I need to, but I have to stop thinking I have to prove to the world that I can be good at everything, because we're not meant to be.
I have a follow-up question on the timeline of it, right? Yeah. If you take this assessment, does it ever evolve and change? Like, what have you found on the timeline? Like, my 2 geniuses, have they always been my geniuses since I was little?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, we
Oh,
think you're born with them. I'm sure if you went back and talked to your parents, you were a fountain of ideas and excitement, and you loved to go like, "Come on, everybody, let's do
yeah.
this."
Okay.
We found that almost everybody, now, a lot of people said I'd never activated my geniuses. Like, so I'm an ID, super creative, write screenplays, come up with ideas. In my family, also no college, old school, relatively poor, it was like, just be responsible, get things done, do what you're told. So I never actually exercised my geniuses till I got older. And it was funny because Meg Whitman, the high-level person that was the partner at Bain, pulled me aside after 2 years and said, "Pat, you would be a really good partner someday." Because that's what I do. I'm like, partners are the ones that like, "Oh, what about this idea? Let's figure this out." She goes, "But this job being an analyst is not good for you." And it wasn't. So I continued to try to grind until I finally figured out what I loved, and the human side of business and fiction and writing and inspiring people. Now I get to do that. Just because I could go back and be an accountant if I had to, doesn't mean I should.
I am glad I asked that question because I wasn't sure. Like I feel like I look at my first journey as CEO and I was growing up in the business and I really like where I'm at now because I feel like I know who I am in this 40s chapter versus in my 20s chapter. And it feels really exciting to like know who I am and to come in that place. It just brings so much more confidence in everything that I do. I'm glad that you answered it. It's always been part of us.
You've been healing. We get old, hopefully as we get older, we heal and we realize, oh, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that anymore. And you fail and you recover from it. And you realize, oh, that's okay. I don't need to be everything to all people. Some people don't heal from that. I didn't heal from it till I got older. I just started working on it as I got older. I realized one day, like, why am I so still edgy about things? And that's what led to this. And that's what led to me to go to some therapy too. Like, hey, I don't have to be good at everything, do I? So, yeah.
I mean, I'm just so excited that we got an opportunity to sit down, have this conversation. You were part of my first journey without knowing it. You're part of my second journey. And now you
Hey,
get
that's so cool.
Yes, and now you get to, all of my audience will be able to get access to this. I didn't even think about to send it to like extended family members, and family is a huge part of my life. So even with my mom and like I want to know like even in my in-laws, like I think it'll be so helpful for
Feeling burnt out or running on empty at work? You might not be doing the wrong job. You might just be doing the wrong kind of work. Patrick Lencioni, author of The Five Dysfunctions of a Team, created the Working Genius Assessment to help you discover what types of work actually give you energy and which ones drain it. It only takes 12 minutes, but the clarity lasts a lifetime. If you're a CEO, entrepreneur, or just someone ready to level up in business and in life, take the Working Genius Assessment today and get 20% off with code CEO20 at workinggenius.com.